Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a guide to the Fire Knight dungeon, so let's get into it. Alrighty, so as we kind of pull up the dungeons here, I'll talk just a little bit in general. The Fire Knight dungeon is probably regarded by the community as one of the more difficult dungeons. I would say probably the Spider and the Fire Knight are the two toughest dungeons to kind of reach the end game where you're able to farm them consistently on auto in the toughest levels. The reason being is the bosses of these two dungeons have a mechanic where they heal themselves, so they have self-sustain. And in the Spider's case, you actually cannot prevent it. You can't apply heal reduction. And in the Fire Knight's case, he's got a shield where you can't apply any debuffs or really do any damage. So they both have kind of special mechanics and special resistances, and it makes the Spider and the Fire Knight two of the toughest dungeons. So as we pull up the Fire Knight, in this dungeon, you are going to be able to earn Fury, Curing, Immunity, Shield, Crit Damage, Frenzy, Regeneration, Stun, and Savage. The best sets in the Fire Knight are going to be Savage, Crit Damage, and Shield. Shield is pretty useful in the arena and can be useful in dungeons, but it's definitely better in the arena. And then Crit Damage and Savage are both very good kind of damage dealing sets. The other sets can find use in certain niches maybe, but are certainly not as generally useful as those three that I mentioned, the Shield, Crit Damage, and Savage sets. So I usually farm stage 15. I haven't pulled the right champions to be able to really get into the end game as I'm playing the Fire Knight, but if you're able to do stages, 13, 14, 15, you can still farm up, good 6-piece gear, so you don't have to kill yourself to get to stage 20. You can still farm pretty good gear just by getting to level 14 or 15. And I'll be showing level 15, which I can farm on auto consistently, pretty efficiently. And in general, when we're building a team for the Fire Knight, we are going to want speed increase because we have to be getting 2 turns in for every one of his rotations. If you're getting 1 turn in, you're probably just not going to be doing enough. So speed increases, team turn meter increases, very important. So Apothecary slots into that role here for me. And Apothecary also has a multi-hit A1, which segues me to my next point. Getting champions that have multi-hit A1s or multi-hit abilities are very good. Like Kale doesn't have a multi-hit A1, but he does have that disintegrate ability that that targets 4 times at random, so it's gonna hit the Fire Knight 4 times. Foley has a 4-hit A1, similar to Coldheart is pretty good in this dungeon. She has a 4-hit A1. Apothecary with a 3-hit A1. So now with a team like this, I've got a pretty consistent blend of multi-hitting going on because we're gonna need those multi-hits to take down the Fire Knight's shield. If you're not able to take down his shield, you can't beat the level, at least if it's at a realistic difficulty. Like if you're farming stage 1, sure, you can probably not have to worry about it, but once you get towards the end game maximum level you're able to farm, you're gonna need to take down his shield, so you're gonna need those multi-hits. Also, counterattack is extremely good in the Fire Knight. So if you have some of those good counterattack characters, the super endgame ones, like Martyr is a legendary, Valkyrie a legendary with counterattack, then an epic you have Skull Crusher, and then there's champions like Jizo and Executioner that have some counterattack utility. But yeah, in the Fire Knight you are going to want counterattack. It's very good. I haven't pulled the right champions to build kind of a counterattack team, so I went with kind of this strategy. You're probably going to want a source of sustain, so Steel Skull and Apothecary are bringing that for me. And then an HP Aura is very good in the Fire Knight because he actually has an ability that decreases your max HP, so the higher HP pool you have to work with is going to help you kind of mitigate that effect. Champ Fort has that huge ally HP in dungeons by 50%, so I went ahead and slotted him in as my leader, and that's kind of the thought process here of the team that I'm using. So we'll fire up a run here. And actually with the Fire Knight, he's got, you know, a lot of the bosses have a couple stages of trash mobs and then the boss fight. The trash mobs state can be kind of difficult in the Fire Knight. He's got one of the tougher trash mob setups because, you know, they have a ray that removes your buffs and does some decent damage. So you're gonna want some good AoE and be able to burst down these trash stages pretty well. Look at that, Tyrell and Ray. That's just nasty. And then when I get to the Fire Knight, I will pause and we'll kind of go over his abilities, and I'll kind of be able to explain my reasoning on some of the stuff that I was talking about in the team building phase. So usually, you know, with Fire Knight being one of the tougher dungeons, don't feel bad if it takes you longer. You know, sometimes the Fire Knight can take 5 or 6 minutes, you know, so don't feel bad about that. But, okay, let's pause it here. And I'll just go through the mechanics of the Fire Knight. So we can see here, this is the defining attribute of the Fire Knight. There's this little shield with the 7 on it. At the start of his turn, in the later levels, this is going to be a 10. And that's going to reset to 10 at every single one of his turns. This is based on how many times the shield is hit. And this is why I said people like Coldheart and Foley, and even Aethel has a 3-hit A1, Apothecary with a 3-hit A1. Those 3 hits are going to take that from, you know, 10 to 9 to 8 to 7. Those 3 hits are going to reduce that shield. And you have to get 10 hits in every turn. And the reason you want characters with an A1 is because it's going to be consistent. They're going to do that ability very often. And so let's just start here. The passive, Cloak of Fire, starts the battle with a Divine Shield, which is what I was just talking about. While active, the shield reduces the damage Fyro receives by 80% and prevents Fyro from receiving any debuffs or being affected by any other skill effects. So that means like turn meter reduction. Coldheart, her Heart Seeker that reduces the turn meter, it isn't going to work if Fire Knight's shield is up. The shield cannot be removed by skills or remove debuffs. Each hit Fyro takes decreases the strength of the shield. So the only way to deal with the shield is to hit it. You have to hit it 10 times. The shield will be broken when hit enough times. The shield regenerates every turn. If Fyro starts a turn with the shield active, Fyro will attack all enemies 1 time. The attack will decrease each enemy's max HP. Fyro also heals at the start of every turn, and this is important. The value of the heal and the damage dealt increases according to the strength of the shield at the time of the attack. So if his shield has like 5 or 6 points, he's gonna hit you way harder, and he's gonna heal himself more. So basically, all of this comes down to 1 point. Take care of the shield. Hit the shield 10 times and get rid of it. And then the Dazzling Flames here, attack on enemies, place a 30% decreased speed debuff for 3 turns. So bringing champions that remove debuffs, clear debuffs from your team can be very strong, because that 30% decreased speed really hurts. And it's a 3 turn, not just like a 2 turn. Attack all enemies and decrease the enemy max HP by 15% of damage dealt. So this is the attack he's going to do when his turn kind of comes up. He's going to smash you with that and reduce your max HP. And then obviously the shield is something that I already went over. So now let's throw her back on auto here. And then you can see once you deal with the shield, he'll drop the shield and kind of face you. So very important to get rid of that shield as fast as possible, and then start getting some debuffs to stack up. Start getting some poisons and some decreased defense and decreased attack and decreased accuracy and stuff like that. So Fire Knight is probably one of the tougher dungeons to get to go well on auto, because ideally you're going to want to save your big abilities on manual for when he's in this vulnerable state, to decrease his turn meter, to apply debuffs right here when he's in this open state. See right here, I paused it. So right now he's open, and that means you can debuff him, you can You can affect his turn meter, reduce it. You can do all sorts of stuff to him right now while he's in this opened up phase. And now we can see I got some debuffs kind of stacking up here, and that's when you can start to kind of snowball the battle in your favor. Because the debuffs will stay. Like, even though his shield is up right now and I can't apply new debuffs, his shield will stay, or the shield won't like clear any active debuffs. He would be exceedingly more difficult if like every turn his shield like cleared debuffs. So thankfully it doesn't do that. But yeah, now we've got a decent amount of debuffs going and a nice rotation, so we should be able to burst him down in the next minute or two. Foley placing that decreased defense. That's a really good ability of his. And Foley is actually the Legendary Fusion event, so you know, hopefully some of you were able to get him, because Foley is like double S tier against the Fire Knight. He's one of the best champions in the game against the Fire Knight. He places that huge decreased defense, and also hits a 4-time A1. And we got a shard, so or a mystery shard, so not a good run there. So before I end the video, I'll kind of show you my team here. I know sometimes people are interested in seeing kind of the gear setup. I have Foley geared out in lifesteal so he can sustain himself, and I use him mainly in the clan boss. So accuracy, once I get a little bit more optimized substat accuracy gear, I'm going to pull that off and put a different set on, but he is currently wearing the lifesteal and the accuracy. And then our Kale, he is he doubles as my nuker in the arena, and also I use him in the clan boss sometimes. So he's really decked out in speed and damage that we can see right there. And then my Steel Skull also doubles for a hero that I use in the clan boss fights a lot. So he is in 4-piece speed and 2-piece immoral to have some sustain there. And then Apothecary, you want to get him over 200 speed, so I've got him in 4-piece speed with some sustain there on the Immortal. And then my Lord Champfort, I did kind of a weird build with my Champfort. I want him to be able to sustain himself, and I used him in the Spider a lot, or at least I used to. Now I might be able to switch his gear up a little bit. I'll have to theory craft that, but I had him in the lifesteal just so I don't have to worry about healing him. I can focus on my damage dealers, and then I got him some really good attacks, so he was able to do well in dungeons, and he'll actually do a few 100,000 of damage, so it's actually not a horrible build for him, but maybe not perfectly optimal, and I will look into kind of theory crafting that a little bit more. But yeah, that's kind of the mechanics of the Fire Knight and the team that I was using and the reason behind it. And you know, it is one of the tougher dungeons, so the Fire Knight is one that you may have to build like a specific team to be able to speed farm and do well and get to the end game. So if you're kind of struggling with the Fire Knight, don't feel bad. A lot of us players are. So if you have any questions, drop it down in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.